Hello everybody. Right, well first off, very sorry for the extremely long delay in actually producing this tutorial. I've had quite a lot of stuff going on. Firstly, one of the things is Byond wouldn't actually stay open in my computer long enough for me to do a tutorial without it completely bombing out on me, and other things, preparing a house as well. So I've got a lot of stuff on at the moment, but I've just managed to get some time, so I'm going to upload the tutorial for those that are interested. Now this is the Byond tutorial. I got a request to do something to explain really more on procedures. I thought I'd actually done something on procedures in the past, but I must not have because I couldn't find it when I was looking for it. So, procedures. For those of you who have any programming experience, unfortunately, if you know anything called parameter passing, you can't actually do that in Byond, which is a bit of a disappointment, but you can get around it. I'm going to show you how to get around it. For those of you who don't really know what parameter passing is, I'm going to explain it anyway. Firstly, you'll see a screen on you. Very simple screen. Very simple code. You've got mob. We're logging. We're letting the login code run. Then we're just outputting user to the hello. That's because I was having a few problems with Byond, and I was just debugging it for myself to see what that was actually logging in. We're using some verbs, say and cal, and we've got two procedures, speak and sum. Not forgetting that everything is cap sensitive. So, firstly, parameter passing. Parameter passing allows you to access a procedure, like, let's say, sum. And we could actually have num1 and num2. Now we can then call up sum, as I'll show you in the highlighted bit here, num1 and n1 and n2. So what you can do is you can call the procedure sum, input in the variables n1 and n2. Now with parameter passing, you can modify the variables in sum. Let's say we could set num1 here, because you've got to remember that when we call this procedure up, any data in n1, that variable n1, will become in num1. So basically parameter passing enables us to modify this variable here, num1. And then when the procedure ends, the modified data in num1 is then set back to whatever variable we started off with. So I'm just going to explain this. So say we call up sum and we put in some data in n1, or we put the variable n1. Num1 then is basically, that sets num1 to equal n1. So it takes on all the variables, sorry, all the data in n1. You could then say -5 off of num1, and then when the procedure ends, n1, which is the actual variable that we started off with, would then become num1. And that is called parameter passing, and that's the very basics of it. It's very useful, allows you to use a procedure for many different reasons. However, unfortunately, we can't do that in Byond, so we have to really do a workaround. We can only do output one variable at a time, and this really becomes a function. So as you can see here, I'm going to go through this cal procedure, verb, should I say. So we have a verb cal. We have n1 as a num and n2 as a num. All that means is when we click on the verb button, cal, it will ask us to enter a number and then another number. Then all we're going to do is we're going to output, so src, then we're going to output this on the src chat panel, whichever user actually clicks on the cal verb. And we're going to call up the procedure or function sum, which is n, and we're inputting the data n1 and n2. So whatever numbers value we enter in n1 and n2 will be then put into sum. So then we'll jump down to the sum procedure here. I'll just highlight it. So we have sum, and we have num1 and num2. So, and all I'm going to do is I use the command return. Return equals num1 plus num2. That will return the value of those added together, and we'll store it in the actual procedure name. So if I just highlight the procedure name sum, that will now become a variable and store the data of num1 plus num2, because that's what I've told it to do. So if we go back up to this cal verb, we're going to actually output on the screen sum, the data which is sum, and the data of sum is going to be num1 plus num2. If you're not having difficulty understanding it, just post on the forums or post on YouTube, or email me on YouTube, and I'll try and explain it in a bit more detail. I have gone over it quite a lot in Pascal, which you can access from my website, but it can be a bit tricky. I know it took me quite a few goes to actually grasp this. So now here comes the test. We'll actually run this code and see what happens. Now this is a problem being having with Byond at the moment. As you can see, my Byond's decided not to load up again. What I'll do is I'll just stop this tutorial. Oh, hang on. There we go. It's come back up. Just taking a long time. So as you can see, that's my debug just saying hello. So I can click on cal, and it says enter numbers. Well, cal number as a number, 55. Okay, and I'll enter the second one as 12. And you can see it's added them together, and 55 plus 12 is 67. And that was really actually using a function to calculate everything. Now, this is really useful because you can do it on check on hit, using dice rolls and stuff like that. If you'd like me again to go into stuff like that, or you can create a basic combat system using a dice roll, which is actually a function because that returns the value out. I will explain that as well. But as I say, you can actually do this to actually see if you hit somebody. So I'll just create a procedure, call it hit. And you could just have, I'm just going to have two inputs, in 1 and in 2. And these can really be anything you want. And then you could go, if in 1 is greater than in 2, then return 1. Something like that. Otherwise, you want to return 0 as a false statement. That's really... Oh yeah, I'll put this in brackets. Just a second. There we go. It's not going to do anything because I'm not actually calling the procedure up hit. So what I'm going to say is I'm going to say if n1 is greater than n2, then return 1, and then I just stick on an else statement on the other at the end of that. Else return 0, and you've got a boolean there, so you could then call it up in a procedure going something like this. So let's say you want to attack. We could go something like if hit, and then you'd put in your, I'm just going to put in some basic data, then so and so, else so and so. So basically, these two numbers here, you'd put in your variables for whatever you're using to calculate if you hit or not, and you can immediately go if hit, and if it returns a 1, it means you've hit. If it returns a 0, it means you haven't hit. So you've got this whole system where by using really a function to return the value in the procedure, you can actually do quite a lot. Now, this tutorial was requested. I hope I've explained it enough. If the person who requested it is still struggling or needs a bit more help, just post in the forums. And thanks for all the support I've been getting from my site.